Welcome to the show, Tim Larkin. You are a freelance composer, sound designer, and musician with over 20 years in the business. You've played trumpet for the likes of Ella Fitzgerald, Huey Lewis, James Brown, and Natalie Cole, to name a few. And you've worked on albums for the likes of Ice-T and Avenue Jazz. You have recorded numerous records for movies and TV, including Survivor, Fear Factor 2.0, and documentaries on Galileo and the Wright brothers. In 2003, you won an Academy Award for the Best Animated Short Film, The Chub Chubs, which I'll talk a little bit about later on. It's fantastic to have you on the show, Tim. There's so much more to talk about with you. So thank you so much for joining us. And please do tell us more.
You covered a lot of it.
He didn't get the city band in there, though.
That's right. That's right. It's funny that you mentioned that. It started, Skyler and I were talking about this the other day, where it started about 45 years ago, 46 years ago, something like that. I think I was 17, 18 when we were in a band together and cutting our teeth at that point, kind of learning the ins and outs of the business and music in general. We were on the road together for about a year or so, I think. And then everybody went on to bigger and better things from that. So, but that was definitely our proving grounds for sure.
Oh, my God. What was that singer you had before me?
Oh, man, let's not even go there.
Hamilton.
George Hamilton, yeah. A lot of experience from that guy, for sure. We learned a lot of what to do and a lot of what not to do. So,
Yeah, it was a great band, man. It was zany. I mean, we used to do skits on people and all kind of, it was fun. Good looking guys, man, at that time. And, Wormy was playing trombone. And it was a great band, man. It was a lot of fun, too.
It was a great band. And again, all those musicians that were in that band, I think all of them are still playing or doing something that's related to music or have made their career out of music in some way or another. So they all went on, like I said, all went on to bigger and better things. I mean, that was definitely our training grounds. I mean, I was thinking about that the other day, and at 17, I was just out of high school playing in this band. I was probably a horrible trumpet player at the time. It's like, but we learned about music, we learned about the business, we learned about humanity. We learned about a lot of things in that band.
That's right, man. And so, did you ever go on to do your own band at any time?
Yeah, after I signed that record deal with, I had a record deal with Rhino Records, Avenue Jazz for a while. I had a band that did jazz stuff for a while, but I went on to play with other bands. A band called All Is One. I don't know if you remember them. Played with them for a while.
So.
Eddie M was in that. John Paris, he went on to play with Earth, Wind and
Fire.
Yeah,
that's right.
Those guys. Played with them for a while. Played with, oh man, a bunch of different bands. That were dance bands, local bands at the time, and then went on to played with Sheila E. for a little while. Then went on to play with these other artists that you mentioned earlier. But that was more kind of a backup position. It's just, when they'd hire bands to come into town. So.
Wow. Now, how did your gaming industry career start?
So that was kind of a fluke. A friend of mine and I started a business to write music for jingles, that type of thing. Yeah. And he goes, the CD-ROM market was just starting to explode at that time. It was everybody bought a CD-ROM. And so he looked in the yellow pages under CD-ROM companies. The first one he found was under B for Broderbund. He called them up and they hired us both within a few months as composers to write music for content for their CD-ROM games. It was just being at the right place at the right time. That was actually like 29 years ago. So I've been doing video game music and sound stuff for about 29 years. So it just, one thing led to another. After working for Broderbund, went to work for a company called Cyan, and then did a bunch of freelance stuff, worked on the Myst franchise, and I've been working with a company called Valve that I currently work for about, it's going on almost 20 years with Valve, like I think 18 or 19 years, something like that. So It's been a real interesting experience because that industry in itself exploded, right during that time, 25 years ago, where it was actually bigger than the film industry and music industry combined. And there were so many opportunities at that point for music because the technology was advancing to the point where we could use live music and use real orchestras and use real musicians, where kind of before that point, it was more, based on computer chips and the music that people sort of relate to computer music as being more computer generated. But now it's definitely come a long way from that.
Just off the back of that and your gaming kind of career as such, with regard to the music you produce, how much free reign do you get in what you produce? Do you get given like a brief, we need a piece of music against this kind of a storyline, and then you compose it? What's the process?
Yeah, that's a good question. It varies depending on who you're working for, or if you're working. I work in-house as a composer for Valve, and also worked in-house as a composer for Cyan for the Mist stuff. And in that case, you're pretty autonomous. I mean, in most cases, it's like you kind of know, you have an idea of what the storyline is, obviously, because you're involved in the development of the game itself. You know, the atmosphere, the lore, all that kind of stuff. I did a game called Artifact not too long ago for Valve, and I was given this big Bible of storyline and lore and pictures and artist renderings of what the game was going to look like. So I had an idea of what I wanted to do with that because of the background, and went with kind of a Eastern European sound with had a sort of the gypsy feel to it. So I kind of wanted to incorporate that Eastern European Baltic sound into it. So, most of the time I've been lucky in the situations that I've been in where I have been given free reign, and it's kind of, we want you to do it because we trust your set of skills or your aesthetic. Right. There are times when you're reined in, where it's like they want something very specific and you have to deliver that. But that's more rare in my case, but I'm sure a lot of composers deal with that all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Defense of the Ancients. Is it really right that you've been working on it for 12 years?
Yes. It's been a game that's sort of evolved over time. It's an e-sport as well as a game. So meaning that they have competitions and tournaments all over the world playing this game. So it's evolved into this a pretty big franchise where it was 2 years ago, I think it peaked, where we have a tournament we put on every year called the International. It's kind of like the Super Bowl of esports. And the prize pool 2 years ago, I believe it was over $40 million for here's kids playing a video game. These teams are giving up over $40 million. So each player could end up with $4 or $5 million if they win the tournament. So it's gotten quite large. And so it has evolved over time. And we've had we're going on our 12th International this year, actually. It'll be at the Key Arena, or what's called Climate Pledge Arena now in Seattle this year. But it's been all over the world, and it's huge. We did it in Shanghai at the Mercedes-Benz Arena. There's 30,000 people there. It's it's like
that's amazing.
It's like going to the Super Bowl. It's exciting. It's there, and it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Now, how about for yourself? Are you doing any personal kind of music for yourself?
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of busy with some other stuff, but I've got some projects that I've got started. I'm working on another album, actually, that's going to be taking pop songs from the 70s and 80s that were really popular, like some stuff you may not remember, but you remember the tune like Wichita Lineman. Glenn Campbell did that.
Oh my, yeah.
So I'm redoing that in sort of a orchestral jazz vein, stuff like that.
Wow, that'd be a trip.
Yeah, so kind of redoing pieces like that in instrumental jazz vein. So working on that. It may be a year or so away before I finish it, but yeah, I get to do personal stuff now and then.
Do you write lyrics?
No.
Wow.
All instrumental.
I could teach you how to do that.
Yeah, I bet you could.
Yeah, man. To put some lyrics to what you're doing is just, it's amazing. I mean, like, and I'm always encouraging people to just write some social conscious, positive, lyrical content. You know what I mean? Like you say, you look at something, a game or whatever like that, and you get feelings from that.
Right.
That's a different gift.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, I've always been a visually inspired person where and that's always helped me. And I've been lucky because in the games and so forth and things I've written music for, I've always had some sort of visual palette to work from. And to me, just looking out the window, you can get feelings of your surroundings and sort of translate that into some sort of music. I'm sure you do the same thing, only like you say with lyrics, it's a little bit different. I wish I was good at doing that, but I'm not. But hopefully it works when I sort of translate that into music instead.
I'm gonna teach you how to do it. I've taught so many people, man.
Good luck. I don't know how good of a student I'd be, but good luck.
No. I've made it so simple that people go, "Wow, I should have been doing that a long time ago," right?
Yeah.
And it's just stories, picking a story.
Yeah.
It's just like with your music. Like, what would that look like? You put, if you build a song for music, man,
Yeah.
maybe I should say something, because it's easy for you to come up with melodies for the vocal,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right on, man. So, well, we can use your endorsement for Music for Global Change because we're trying to turn the lyrical content thing around, so that it's healing, education, and solving problems. You know what I mean? Life ain't all bad. So, we can use your endorsement for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Right on, man. Tom, give what you got?
Well, Academy Award winner. I mean, come on, let's go to talk about that. But what is or what was the film Chub Chubs, and what was it like to become the Academy Award winner that you are for it?
So that was a short film that was done. That was back in the days when that was like in 2003, I want to say, when Pixar was putting out these little short films.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
Before a main feature. So ours came out in front of Men in Black 2, I think it was, is the short film, and it was done by Sony Imageworks. And it was just a little short film. It was about 6 minutes long, 7 minutes long, if I remember. And it was based on this little creature that turns out to be this ferocious, beats up these big giant invaders or whatever. It was a cute little movie that was just meant to be done in front of a feature. And
gotcha.
What was up, and again, I had no idea it was going to turn into what it did. And when I first saw it, as a matter of fact, the very first iteration of the film itself I was looking at it like what is this? This is never going to work, And it evolved over time, and we ended up going down to Sony Imageworks, and we mixed on the Eastwood stage or one of those, and put it out, and it just kind of started winning, smaller film festivals or whatever. And then it got put in front of Men in Black. And then I remember the night thinking, again, this is not going to happen. I forget what it was up against, like 4 other films or whatever. When they announced it, I was just floored. It was like, this is unreal. So it just kind of kept, gaining momentum and evolving. And eventually they won the Academy Award for Best Short Film, short animated film.
So you have one of those on your mantle?
Yeah, the director got they only hand out one, unfortunately. So
that's cold-blooded, man. What's up with that?
You should at least get another version of it.
Or something.
Oh, yeah. Right. I have photos with it. That's about as far as it goes right now.
All right.
That's good.
What's on the agenda now?
I got a big concert coming up at Climate Pledge Arena. So these tournaments that I was telling you about, we also do the music from the game. We open up the opening ceremony. So I'll have the Seattle Symphony there with about 100-piece orchestra and a 32-piece choir, and we'll do an opening concert for the event. And so I'm working on that music right now, and working on other content for that particular event because it's such a huge event every year. So it usually takes 3-4 months of preparation to get everything ready for that. So that's what's on the agenda right now.
Now, the first time that you conducted an orchestra, how did that feel?
It's amazing. I mean, the first time I conducted an orchestra was actually at a recording session. It wasn't a live event. But the live events, it's like, I remember a friend telling me, because the first event that I did, I think was at Key Arena in Seattle, and there was about 15,000 people there, I think. Yeah. And they all know the music. They know it in and out. And so I remember a friend telling me, he says, before you start conducting, before you start the piece, just take it all in. So I remember walking out there, and I'm in the middle of this arena with, thousands of people around me. And I remember just standing there for, 10, 20 seconds, just looking around and taking it in. And it's just like, this is really an amazing thing. I'm sure you've felt that on performances before yourself, where you walk out on stage and there's thousands of people out there, and it's like, wow, this is really an amazing thing. And then to hear your own music being played, by 100 people or whatever, it's a great feeling. It's you can't explain it. It's just something that it's pretty amazing, and I'm very, very fortunate to have had that experience and get to still have it. So
I mean, You know, I remember playing in China. It's like 20,000 people or something out there. But you know, when you're looking down at the audience, man, and like you said, you playing your own song, your own piece, right? And then afterwards, you know, the love that you get for something you created,
right?
It's an amazing feeling.
It really is. And you know, one of the things we talked about earlier too that's really cool about this whole situation is that it extends that music to the kids. It's like something that they normally wouldn't have a chance to experience or want to experience. You know, that when I was younger, I'd go to orchestra concerts and stuff like that because I was so into music. But there's a lot of kids that won't get exposed to that. They don't get exposed to orchestras. Their kids aren't going to bring them to the opera or to go see the symphony because it's just not part of the fabric of our culture like it used to be. So these kids now, they're in video games and they're orchestral music. It's not really classical music in the sense, but it's orchestral music similar to, you know, movie soundtracks or whatever. And so they get to go to these concerts now where there's like video games live where all they do is video game music. It's a whole concert with an orchestra with video game music. And I've done several of those concerts as well. And all these kids are so excited to see an orchestra playing live the music that they've been listening to playing this video games for hundreds of hours. Wow. And so they come up after the concert and they're looking for autographs and they want and the guys that play these video games are their star athletes. It's like, you know, we used to look up to baseball players, football players, whatever it is, which kids still do. But now there's a whole new group of video game players that they look up to, and this is all part of it. It extends their exposure to culture in ways that they normally wouldn't get. So that's really exciting in the fact that it's like, okay, now kids get to actually see live orchestras again and kind of renews that whole thing where, again, you're not, you know, parents aren't dragging their kids out to see La Traviata by Verdi or anything anymore. So it's like, you know, this is their classical music or whatever. This is their exposure which is great. So it's an introduction to seeing an orchestra play as opposed to just watching a DJ or something like that. So that's exciting to me.
I just want to, if you can, if you're available on any kind of social media outlets, if you can just give us your social media contacts so people can see what you're doing and what you're up to. I
have a Facebook page and that's about it. You know, I have just a Facebook page. If you want to go look up Tim Larkin on Facebook, that's about it. Yeah, that's about all. That's brilliant. I do have an artist page there that I just started not too long ago, and then I also have a Spotify. I have a Spotify page. There's some of my Miss soundtracks are up there, and my old album is up there actually that I did for.
What we'll do is we'll put the links to those in the description of this video for people. Anybody want to go off and see it, they can do.
Sure.
I love you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Tim. Take care.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.